All right, Nick. Headed to the top of the ninth. Marlins Park and Reds Trail. 6-3. Did feel like it was going to be basically a shutout for a long period of this game. That didn't happen.
No shutout tonight. No one shuts out the Cincinnati Reds.
Nick seems like he's super hot right now. I just realized that.
Check.
Yeah. Is that
I turned it up on my end. I don't know if you want to turn me down.
okay?
I actually turned it up inside the computer. Is it like hot in terms of like it's too much, or is it just too?
You're fine. Hold on. I mean, I can turn you down on your.
The chat was complaining on Saturday when I was running the show that I was too quiet. So I think it would probably be best, and I couldn't adjust it anymore on my end inside of vMix.
So
a little shop.
Yeah, a little shop wise. What you can do is go to the inside of your mixer audio. You can hit settings on the specific channel, and then you can adjust it. It's called gain. I'll show it to you.
Okay. So they're actually,
there's a way to turn yourself up. I can teach you that. One out. I got one out. Fraley's fly out to center field.
I do think it would be best to keep it though as it is, because when I just was recording myself,
that's fine.
In separate app, it actually sounded a little better in my opinion. So I think it'd be better to turn it up on your end.
All right. Well, we're going to just rely on the chat here to guide us through all this. I turned Nick down a little bit. If it's not enough or too much, just let me know in the chat, and I'll make those adjustments here as we go through this ninth inning. As always, please like the stream if you haven't already, and also if you're just tuning into this and you're looking for the post-game show, you can find that in the chapters on YouTube, and you can click directly on that, and it will go straight to the actual post-game show. But for now, what we do is we've been doing this for a while. We are going to go live in the ninth inning, watch the ninth inning together, and then we will obviously take a quick break and head into the actual real show. I'm trying to figure out how to get back into center here. Let's just adjust the camera.
It's the hardest part of this whole thing.
And back. Okay.
How's your Monday going, Trace?
Not bad. I was obviously hoping that this would go a little bit differently. You're ahead of me. Marte, you're happy about something? Not quite. Okay. You were hoping. You were wishing. You were praying.
You have to hit it a mile to get it out there.
Jacob Doyle asking if Marte's defense is a concern. Slightly. Sure, we'll talk about it maybe on the show a little bit more, but I don't want to overreact over just a couple of games, but I'll tell you this: if he hits, it makes it a lot more tolerable. It makes it a lot more tolerable if he's going to have a couple hits every single night and hit for some power. Yeah, I mean, I can tolerate it.
Did he commit an error tonight? Did I miss it?
I don't think it's going to be scored as an error. He had two plays in this game that probably you would think that a better defender would have made, Espinal would have made, but one of them was ranging to his left. He kind of looked like he just kind of bailed out on the play or short-armed it. And then the second one was a missed throw. Not a bad throw, just wasn't on the money enough to turn the double play. Made McLean stretch for it. All right, well, that will do it. And as always, we'll be back to do a show.
And the bench to bench. Change hit in the air to deep right field. Back goes Clemente. At the save. He's done. Get out of here, baseball. It's gone. Oh, my God. You believe it. Johnny Bench has tied it up.
The Cincinnati Reds win the World Series in 4 straight. It was a sweep.
In the dirt. It's a wild hit. Here comes Foster. The Reds win the pennant.
Perkins won the game.
That ball is fair.
Benzinger backing and calling. And the 1990 World Championship belongs to the Cincinnati Reds.
Marty, yes. This is Adam from Milwaukee. Hey, Adam, how you doing? I'm good. How are you? Good. Do you think Scott Chatterbox is a good player?
Done up there with the bases loaded, the outfield deep and around toward right, and the 1-0 on the way to the plate. Swung on, long drive, right field, and this one belongs to the Reds.
And a high drive, hit back into deep right field. Junior has just knocked the door down to the 500 club.
Benson's first home run is a walk-off winner. That ball had a family.
And De La Cruz is, oh my goodness, look at this kid run. My, oh my, that is a triple.
Matt McClain's first big league bomb.
Spencer Steer's first big league hit is a home run to straightaway center field. Joey Votto's done it again.
The pitch. Votto swings high in the air. Right field. Yes! He pointed to the dugout to say, I told you. That is Joey Votto's 315th career go-ahead ribby. Only Johnny Bench had more as a Red.
And I can't tell you how much it means to play in front of everyone here in Cincinnati as a Red. What a gift. What a tremendous gift. So thank you. Thank you.
I think I can speak for all of Reds country. Joey Votto, thank you.
High drive. Left center field. Racing back to the Laurent Bourgeois. The Reds are National League Central Division champions. In the air, left center field. Did he? He did! He did! Red win! Win! Line to right field. Junior, the first Red ever with 4 home runs in a game. Can you believe it? In the air, down the right field line. Doesn't have a chance. The Reds have won on a 3-run home run on opening day by Ramon Hernandez. A strike away and out away is Homer Bailey. Ground ball to third. Frazier gloves. Throw to first, and Homer Bailey, for the second time in his major league career, has tossed a no-hitter. Oh, gosh. Are you kidding me? Holy Moses, the second player in major league history to hit 7 home runs in the first 10 games. In the air, and the Reds win. What a dream beginning to the career of Jay Bruce.
All right, it's a losing edition of Chatterbox Reds. Reds fall to the Miami Marlins. Still want to say the Florida Marlins from time to time, but hey, 6-3. A game that honestly feels like they deserve to lose. It feels like over the course of the 162, the portion of the games that you just lose, the portions of the game that you just win, and then all the ones in the middle. I'll be honest, this kind of feels like one of the ones that's in the games you're just going to lose. And say whatever you want. I'm sure Nick will get into all of it. You always have the nice rundown with the mired today, but it's always somebody, Lightard or Evalde. There's plenty of them to go around. I don't know how you feel, Nick. I feel as if you can kind of see these. You can kind of see this coming a mile away sometimes. I mean, I'm not trying to say every time you score 20 plus runs in a game, the next game you're probably going to have a little bit of a letdown. But that's clearly what happened for the most of the night tonight, and I'm glad to see they broke through. They broke the seal, but ultimately it wasn't enough.
If this had just been a 3-0 game and it had just ended like that, I just would have said, just tip your cap to Max Meyer. Pitched a hell of a game. I mean, this is the guy for the Miami Marlins. This is their hope of their franchise. He pitched incredible. you move on to the next day. I mean, there's not really, I don't think, anything else to talk about. There were some interesting things that happened late in the game that maybe were a little bit more interesting. But, I mean, Max Meyer, some of the pitches he threw were ridiculous tonight. You just got to give him credit. I mean, this guy is a great pitcher. This isn't some bum. It's not like oh, my gosh, you scored a ton of runs, and then the next day you get shut out by some bum. This is a great pitcher. I guarantee you no one in Miami of their 15 fans are talking about how terrible the Reds at-bats were tonight. They're talking about how great Max Meyer was, and he deserves all the credit tonight.
Well, there's a lot of swing and miss on this team, too. I'll openly admit that. Was he as good tonight as 14 Ks being worthy of that? I wouldn't go that far, but I will openly admit that he was good enough to at least put up the slash line or whatever the score line that he did. 6 innings pitched, 5 hits. I could easily say that he was worthy of that. 14 Ks, that's just a lot. I mean, that's a lot. Now, granted, he threw the ball well, but I also think it kind of points a little bit, slightly to what this team is still. And there are times where we get excited because they have an outburst and they look great, and a lot of guys get rolling and they score 11 runs, 14 runs, 24 runs. But there's still a lot of swing and miss on this team. And I thought, Nick, there was a couple of times in this game where they could have gotten in a spot where you made it feel like a little bit of game pressure would have been added to Meyer. Is it Meyer or Mayer? I mean, I think it's Mayer, right? Mayer. I'm going to say Meyer because that's the way.
It feels like it should be Mayer.
Well, I agree. Mean, when Urban Meyer has been a part of your life quite literally for 15, 20 years, when you see that name, it's just, I'm going to openly apologize to his family, everyone else that's going to get mad at me for saying Meyer. I'm going to try to correct this as I continue to go through it, but just bear with me as I butchered this kid's name. It felt like, which I don't want to get too deep into the weeds here. I know we got to get to the box score. But it felt like Trevino had an opportunity early in the game to put the ball in play and at least just get us a run and kind of break the seal. Wasn't able to do that. And it kind of also felt like bad luck where the best spot we had to break the seal earlier in the game, Trevino just happened to be up. It's just like kind of tough luck. We could have used almost anyone else in that spot. I'm not taking anything away from Trevino, but the truth is he's probably not one of he's been good this season, to be clear, but he's not one of the guys we'd like to have up in a tough spot. So let's do the box score recap. We'll jump into the game itself, and then obviously many people in the chat are upset with Alexis Diaz. We'll dive into that. What does that mean, if anything, and more. So, Nick, box score recap. Take it away.
All right, Reds against the Marlins, first of a 6-game road trip for the Reds. Reds offense was dominated by the young Marlins star Max Meyer. He struck out a career-high 14 Reds batters over 6 shutout innings. Meyer did not walk anyone and gave up just 5 hits. Nick Lodolo, coming back off the paternity list, cruised through the first inning. He struck out 2, but gave up 2 runs in the second inning. Lodolo would settle in and ended up giving up 3 runs over 5 2/3. The Marlins poured it on in the 7th against Alexis Diaz. Kyle Stowers hit a 3-run bomb to put the Fish up 6-0. Reds did rally in the 8th off the Marlins bullpen. Matt McLean walked, Elly De La Cruz singled, and Gavin Lux crushed his first home run as a Red to make it a 6-3 game, but the Reds would go quietly in the 9th. Reds fall 6-3. Reds now back below 500, 11-12 on the season.
We have a deep drive of the day, and it was Gavin Lux. His first big fly with the Cincinnati Reds. It was nice to see. It got the Reds kind of in a spot where you started to feel better about yourself as a Reds fan. 0, like it or not, when you score 0 runs in a game, there's just something about that just feels completely off. And, Gavin Lux, it was nice to see him bring the Reds a little bit closer. That would be 102 off the bat, 397 feet. And it would cut the deficit 6-3. And as we all know, that would ultimately wind up being the exact score of the game, and the Reds would lose 100%. But at the time, believe it or not, the win probability was 3%. Anyway, DSC, as we all know, they are a leader And what are they a leader in? They're a leader in renewable commodities for biofuel production, specializing in used cooking oil collection, aggregation, and sales. Visit www.deepsouthcommodities.com for more information. I guess we'll start with Meyer. I'm going to give him his flowers. I'm going to give him his credit. I think that as the year progresses, there are chances where everyone's going to point back and be like, well, Meyer's ERA or his whatever stat you want to point to isn't as good as the Reds made him look. I just think tonight he had a very tight slider. He was able to locate his pitches relatively well. He was getting the benefit of the doubt on very close borderline calls that were strikes. I'm not saying that they weren't strikes, but he wasn't getting squeezed at any point tonight. And he had the Reds hitters off balance, what seemed like, the vast majority of the night. Started off, though, TJ Friedl got off with a base hit, but then that was really, from there on, the most that the Reds could kind of muster up. And they didn't really have that many chances. I don't know kind of what you make of this, Nick. I would just openly say this team, offensively, it's going to be painful at times to watch. I'm not saying it's going to be horrendous all year long or anything like that, but there will be times and stretches where this offense is painful. We've already dealt with it before. We're going to continue to deal with it because I think that's who we kind of are. I don't mean that as if they can't do anything special this year. I'm just openly saying that I don't think we have enough great offensive players that when a guy's on for a certain night, that we don't have enough guys that can have good grinded out at bats to try to get him out earlier. Nick, that's probably the most frustrating thing that I think that I had as the game progressed. He had 15 strikeouts, and it seemed like he had about half of those through the first 4 innings, and he was sitting at like 50 pitches. It's like, how does this guy have this many strikeouts, yet he finds himself in a position where he can continue to get deep in the game? And that's something I hope that this lineup will do a better job of. But again, I just kind of tip the cap a little bit here and just say it wasn't our night, you move on. I know people don't like hearing that. That's kind of where I'm at with this whole thing. I'm not going to read too much into it.
Yeah, I think the only thing that you could maybe point to would be that they didn't walk at all against him. Maybe if they could have, he had walked 2 batters in each of his last 3 starts. So, but again, he also hit his spots. I mean, some of these spots were right on the edge of the zone too. So, yeah, I mean, that would have been great to kind of get his pitch count up a little more. The Marlins are clearly not going to push him. He was at 92 pitches, and they said no chance. We're bringing him back out there in the 7th. So yeah, I mean, if you maybe could have got him out in the 5th, you could have had an extra inning against a pretty mediocre at best Marlins bullpen. So that would have been my only criticism. But look, I don't think the Dodgers were hitting him tonight. I mean, maybe, I don't know, maybe that's too rosy for some, but
that's a little strong, but maybe.
I don't think anyone was hitting him tonight. I think he was great. I'm giving him all the credit.
That's fine.
I'm giving him 90% of the credit.
Yeah, I think he was good. I just want to openly admit and say to everybody that we've also made other guys look good. Like, this isn't the first guy that's come out and had a career high or one of their best performances that they've had in a long time. This is the same team that also scored quite literally 0 runs for 27 innings. Now, we didn't have Hayes, to be fair, and that's part of it. But I'm just openly saying I'm hesitant to just give everyone all the credit when they go out and pitch well against the Reds. But I do think, transparently, that Meyer was excellent tonight, to be clear. Like, I don't want people to take that the wrong way. Nick Lodolo, I thought he also kind of battled. There were stretches where I thought he looked really good, and then it kind of got to a point where, he had what I would consider some pretty, I thought he had some good defense behind him tonight too. Like, Jake Fraley made a great play in right field. Don't know if that's going to get brought up, but it'll get brought up in this show. Jake Fraley made an incredible play in right field. Elly made some really, really nice plays. I know that Marte had a little bit of a couple mishaps, if you want to call it that. They weren't errors, but they were mishaps enough to affect the game. But ultimately, Nick Lodolo was fine. I guess that's where I'm at with him. A C+, B- grade.
It was a weird start. I mean, he's coming back off the paternity list. Looked dominant in that first inning. I was like, oh, wow. He looks great. I was kind of surprised he looked so sharp. I don't know. Maybe it was a little bit of adrenaline, you know. Guy hasn't slept in probably 4 days. Flew down to Miami last minute.
Right.
And then he ran into some trouble in the second. But he only gave up 5 hard hit balls today. So was he getting hit hard? He does seem to be struggling with his put away pitches this year a little bit more. He had a lot of 2-strike counts where he just wasn't able to get over the hump. And I do think Lodolo needs to miss a little bit more bats than he's missing right now to be that top of the rotation arm. But if he continues to pitch like he pitched tonight and like he's pitched overall this year, he'll be a perfectly fine starting pitcher in this Red staff that's deep. But you know, just the not being able to put guys away is probably the only thing right now that's just holding him back a little bit.
Yeah, and there was I'm gonna have to find it here as I pilfer through it, but there was one pitch. You know, I typically don't get on the show and get upset about pitch selection and kind of those types of things because that's getting probably too far into the weeds on a lot of this stuff. And to be very clear, these guys are about as well prepared as you can possibly be for games. There's scouting reports, there's analytics, there's data that is very, very much the direction of why the catchers call the pitches that they call. More times than not, whether or not the guy executes those pitches is the reason you have success or you don't. Shout out to Reds fan Brandon. He brought up a stat that I thought was very interesting. It was a big 0-2 pitch that Nick Lodolo gave up a big hit on, and it was obviously the kid's first MLB hit. He was hitting in the 9-hole. Maybe that kid will end up being a Hall of Famer. I don't even know the guy's name, but my point still stands. He had him down 0-2, and it felt like just a bad time to throw a changeup. He has not seen Nick Lodolo's slider ever. It just kind of felt like too cute of a pitch, and he left it right over the middle. But one thing to note here, Reds fan Brandon said since the beginning of 2022, Lodolo has had 21 batters on an 0-2 or 1-2 count. He's given up 21 hits. The next closest is Braxton Garrett with 14. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to make of that, but clearly, I understand the logic though. Sometimes Nick is like when you get a guy down 0-2, you shouldn't just waste a pitch because obviously that adds up over time. Your pitch count might get extra 9-10 pitches in a game because you have guys over 0-2 or 1-2 and you're scared to throw a strike. But it's one thing throwing a strike. It's another thing trying to throw your best pitch and being as selective as you can. And I hope Lodolo will start to do that maybe a little bit more. But I have no real issue with Lodolo's start, which I guess will jump us into the next subject unless you have something else to talk about with Lodolo.
Yeah, no, the only other point I would bring up is that the Marlins have actually hit lefties really well this year. They are second in Major League Baseball in batting average against left-handed pitching. So I do think Lodolo might be a little bit caught in between. There's been a lot of comments about him trying to pitch to contact more, and maybe he's just not finding that right balance of yes, trying to pitch to contact, not allowing an 0-2 count to become quickly a 3-2 count. But he also, I think, does have to get some more strikeouts. Our guys were talking about it. Shout out to Hunter and Max on the pregame show. They were talking about how Lodolo does have to miss some more bats. And when it works and the guy pitches well over 6 innings and he doesn't get strikeouts, everyone, goes, oh, hey, that's all that matters. Well, it doesn't typically work out in the long run as a very effective strategy to not miss batters at all. So I just think he needs to miss a little bit more. But again, this is his 5th start of the year, coming back off a really weird situation that was very challenging for him as a human being tonight. And so I don't make much more out of it. Hopefully he's able to pitch well this weekend in Colorado.
All right, moving on to somebody that obviously probably has a little bit more of a bullseye on his back in Alexis Diaz. Obviously, when he came back, there was discussion of whether or not he was going to retake the reins of being a closer. I had said I think there's little to no chance of that, and I think you probably somewhat agreed with me, but there was at least a semblance of a reason to ask the question to Tito Francona. he obviously said that Pagan was he was happy with the way that Emilio was throwing the ball in his role. And now you find yourself in a position where Alexis Diaz looks very much like the Alexis Diaz that we've come to know throughout his career. He has always played with fire, Nick. And the crazy thing about it is it just feels like now if he were to find himself in a position where he just has a little bit of bad luck, or he gets just a little bit in a spot where guys hit him just a tad bit harder, the dam breaks and flooding will occur. The biggest issue I had with Alexis Diaz tonight, and maybe I'm just an idiot for thinking this, but like if he can't control the run game at all, it's going to be really hard to put him in games in the 7th and 8th inning when it's a 1 or 2 run game. I mean, you have to basically pitch damn near perfect to not give yourself or not put yourself in a really, really tight spot. I mean, ultimately, the home run, it is what it is, right? He gave it up. You could say they would have scored if they didn't steal it all. But I'm just thinking down the line here, Nick, of like, Alexis Diaz has done this before. Let's not act like he hasn't given up home runs. He's not looked bad. He did the, but I don't remember, and maybe I'm just naive, I don't remember a team stealing on him so easily that we don't even throw the ball. I mean, we're not even throwing the baseball. And I get that he has the leg kick, but he's going to have to figure that out. Because if he doesn't figure that out, Nick, I hate to say this, but it's going to be really hard for me to trust Alexis Diaz ever going into a game because he's going to have to basically get everybody out, or someone's going to be in scoring position with a chance to tie the game or take the lead just by getting on base. And he walks guys. And that's just who he is. And I guess, as I've said before, I'm not trying to kill Alexis Diaz and act like I think he's terrible. But he definitely has these traits that we've been concerned about for a long time. And they've reared their head up here. And I guess my point in saying all this is like it's not a shock. Maybe that's why I'm not mad. I don't know.
That's a big spot. I mean, he was, 1 out away from keeping it a 3-0 game. And I mean, there's certainly no guarantee that things play out the same way.
Right.
So you can't just say, that completely cost the game. Well, it might have been completely different. The Marlins may have brought in a left-handed pitcher to face Gavin Lux, knowing he was the tying run. It would have been a completely different spot. So, yeah, I don't know. The first two of the pitches that were balls to Kyle Stowers, who's a pretty good player for the Marlins, one of their top prospects that's kind of getting established. He just threw 2 very uncompetitive pitches. And the pitch that he threw that Stowers hit out of the ballpark wasn't a bad pitch, but I think he was geared up for the fastball in that spot. And, it's a lot easier to hit when you kind of feel pretty confident in what's coming and you're able to just kind of square it up. So it's the command with him.
Yeah.
How much of a leash do you give Alexis Diaz? I don't know. I mean, that's the great debate. I mean, clearly they made the right move, not making him the closer. I think that's definitively true.
Yes.
Does he help this team or not? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. Yeah, I mean, I don't think his leash should be super long. I don't think he can go out in 3 or 4 more bad outings and you keep him up here because he does have options. I don't know if I'm in a rush to send him down either, though, right now. But that leash is getting smaller and smaller.
I don't think the good outweighs the bad with him. And that's just how I view it. I look at his stuff, and he's a one-trick pony. He's kind of been a one-trick pony. And I've always said that if somebody at some point tells the opposing team that if they just decide not to swing at these sliders, there's a pretty good chance he's going to walk you. There just is. And I know that seems easier said than done, but if you do not chase with Alexis Diaz, you have a great chance to get on base. And I think that ultimately finally will catch up to him. And then the fact that you can't hold a runner on to save your life, that's the icing on the cake for me. That makes it to where I'm done. As far as like moving him down yet, of course you can't do that. But as far as what I view him the same way I view Barlow. I really do. I hope that at some point Maxwell, and I'll say it like this. If our concern is that Luis May is going to walk the world, I'd rather die on the hill that Luis May might just strike 3 guys out after he walks everybody. I am not so convinced that Alexis Diaz is going to strike the side out like he has once in the past with that devastating slider, because if the slider is not on and guys decide, you know what, I'm not going to chase this pitch, there's nothing left to hold on to. And we'll see. I've overreacted with Alexis Diaz before. He's turned it around and made me look like an idiot. But my eyes keep telling me, I've watched enough baseball in my life to know this eventually doesn't end well. I don't know when that's coming. Maybe it'll never come. But it feels like it's on its way, and it feels like it might be here right now. We shall find out. Anything left to add with Diaz before we jump into the back half?
No.
All right, we got some super chats on the way. Let's do those right now, and then we will obviously get into the folks that help us pay the bills around here. We very much appreciate them for supporting our show. Ned Flanders says, when you have guys in the minors who also walk a lot of people but can throw 100 miles an hour, what value does Diaz offer the team? How long is his leash? Well, Ned, we just spent a whole segment on that. I don't know how long his leash is. I'll give him two more outings. Like if we went one more outing and it didn't go well, he'd get one more outing after that, and then that would be it. Over under 1.5 more bad outings, Nick.
I'd put it at 2.5.
All right, so you're going to take the
Luis
over
May
on
walked
that.
4 batters on Saturday. So I'm not in a rush to bring up Luis May.
Yeah.
Zach Maxwell's probably a little bit closer. He hasn't been completely dominant either down at AAA. So it also is going to depend on Maxwell. I mean, I feel like Maxwell and Diaz, I kind of feel like those guys maybe should be viewed almost the same. All right, well, does Maxwell pitch well, continue to pitch well? Does he kind of run into his walk problems? And I think that the two of them kind of, it has to be some sort of like scale almost of all right, I think Diaz has a slight advantage right now just on where Maxwell's at, and you're still trying to develop him. But if Diaz pitches bad and Maxwell looks really good next several times out, then I think it maybe skips a little bit. It's not really a whole lot of other options right now. There's several guys injured, and again, it's a long season. And so there's also the whole, not calling guys up too early and kind of, getting yourself into some tough spots there, with relievers, especially with already a couple guys now with Carson Spires going to be out for quite a while now. He would be kind of an option that would be a guy you maybe would want to call up as like your, longer man if you needed him. That's not an option anymore. Mole's on the IL. So there's a little bit of concerns with maybe the relieving depth at this point.
All right. Sean Krutka says Diaz and Candy should carpool to the unemployment office. Keep playing Marte. Diaz had a bad night. Candy has sat for 2 nights in a row. That was interesting. I did not think that was going to happen. I would have put a large sum of money that Candelaria would have been starting in this game tonight. And that didn't happen. And that actually is something we'll talk about on the back half. That's shocking, actually. All right, if you're ever in need for tickets, please, as always, remember that Game Time is the official ticketing partner of Chatterbox Reds. And if it's your first time using the app, please use the code CBOX. That's CBOX. You can get $20 off your first purchase. I was in it the other night just checking out perhaps some road games that the Cincinnati Reds will be headed to here this summer. Just to take a peek, see what kind of the prices are, what kind of value you can get in certain sections. As always, 2 clicks, you can check out. Also, the all-in pricing feature is one that you'd probably like to have. And most importantly, you know that you're getting official tickets. You don't have to worry about showing up to the ballpark and a friend of a friend of a friend sent some tickets through an email and you get to the gate and it doesn't work. Don't have to worry about that with Game Time. It's the official ticketing partner of Chatterbox Reds, as I said. Use the code CBOX. That's CBOX. You can get $20 off your first purchase. And the best thing about it all, you can wait till the last minute if you'd like as well. Last minute tickets guaranteed at the gate when you get there. Please use Game Time, code CBOX, CBOX, $20 off your first purchase. And terms do apply. 988, text and or call, day or night. Anonymous hotline, mantherapy.org. Shout out to folks at 988 for always being available for many people that might have a situation that they need some help with, day and or night. It's okay to not be okay. All right, in the back half of the rundown, we have, what do we have, Nick? We have something. Nobody knows.
I didn't get the score of that. I didn't have the score. I needed like 2 more seconds. I was so close.
It's all good.
So close.
So you have Lux and Marte on here. Obviously, Lux had his first career home run with the Cincinnati Reds. That was a good, well-hit baseball. It was nice to see. Lux has looked the part, for the most part, almost all season long. Zero concerns with him. It is interesting to see what you kind of do with Lux now that you have Fraley playing relatively well. You have Hayes playing well. I don't know what you do, because if Marte keeps playing well, Lux seemingly doesn't have a position, so then he's just has to be the DH. I guess my question to you, Nick, is there any way, and I thought about this before and I'll say it again, is there any way to get this kid a first baseman mitt? I mean, it's worth a shot. If we're throwing Espinal over there to take ground balls, Nick, can we at least try it with Lux? Am I being a little too ridiculous with this? If we're going to try to hide guys like Steer over there, and I know Steer made an unbelievable play tonight. Of course he did when I tried to bring this point up. But it's like we're hiding guys out there that already probably aren't great first basemen. Why not just try it with somebody that's actually providing quality at bats?
What would be the purpose of him playing first base? Who would that get into the lineup?
Well, I mean, ultimately it's getting guys out of the lineup, in my opinion. Like, I think it allows you to take Steer out of the mix. If Steer's in a spot where that's where they think they have to play him for him to play, then ultimately left field's taken, right field is taken. The only spot that you can possibly put Lux, in my opinion, in the field of play would be first base. Otherwise, you're putting as a DH. So I guess if you're going to convince me that when Stevenson comes back, he can play first base, then okay. I guess Trevino, if you want to catch Stevenson, okay. But I thought, I'm still a believer that Trevino still has some pretty high value being the catcher. So I guess I'm openly just saying I'm largely trying to create a spot where the DH could be used by a Tyler Stevenson. Candelario, I guess, can try to play first base, but I'm going to openly say, Nick, I don't know if maybe I'm crazy, but I don't know if Candelario would play a better first base than Lux would anyways. Like, that's an assumption. I get it. But I'm openly just saying, if we're sticking guys at first base that aren't legitimate first basemen, then let's just see how it would go with someone else that is at least providing us good at bats, if that makes sense.
I think Stevenson would be the only player that I would think it would be worth trying to throw Lux at first base, because right now it's the odd man out, I guess, between Steer and Candelario, and both of them can already play first base. And then if you want to DH Austin Hayes, well, Lux can play his spot in left field. If you want to DH Matt McLain, Lux can play his spot. So I don't necessarily think there's a big rush to throw him at first base, but Stevenson would probably be the only way that I see like you maybe would need to do that.
Marte. I mean, my point is that if Marte keeps hitting the ball, he's on the rundown here, you don't want to take him out of the lineup. Santiago Espinal has to play at some point. Like, he's a valuable player. He's a valuable player, and you want to put him out there where he's going to give you the most value. That's going to be third base. And Marte made some plays tonight that makes me think, like, hey, Santiago Espinal still has some value here. Maybe, and I'm rooting for Marte. I hope Marte makes us regret what I said. But there was 2 plays tonight that, again, they won't show up in the box score, but ultimately they could have made a difference. He for whatever reason just came up lame on a ground ball to his left that he should have made the play on. He made a throwing error the other night, And there was a double play ball that he had tonight that he was offline on his throw to Matt McLain, and Matt McLain had to stretch for it, and it caused them to not get the double play. You know, it's a very, very small sample size, Nick, but I'm openly just saying I'm not in love with Spencer Steer, and I'm not in love with Candelario. So if it means that we got to stick someone else at first base just so those guys don't play, I'm open to it.
I don't think I need Espinal and Marte in the same lineup together, though. I think they're kind of a one-or at this point.
Marte's hitting the ball pretty well. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you've seen Nick, but we got two guys that are hitting about sub 125 that we seemingly want to put in the lineup all the time. Spencer Steer can't hit water if you fell out of a boat. He couldn't hit sand if you fell off a camel's back. And Candelario has been absolute trash for the whole entire year. So those two guys, every time they're in lineup, I'm out on them. I'm just done. So I'm openly saying that I'm all in on Marte getting at bats over those two guys. So if it means that Lux has to find a position that otherwise seemingly doesn't make sense, you know what's going to happen, Nick? And this is what will piss me off. They're going to put Santiago Espinal at first base, and they're going to put Gavin Lux at third base. That's the stupid-ass shit that this team does. And you're going to laugh about it, but you mark my words. Mark my words. They're going to put two guys in positions they don't really are comfortable with playing with instead of just sticking one guy in a position that they're uncomfortable playing with. That's what this team does. And maybe I'm wrong. There goes Toxic Trace. I'm not trying to be that way tonight. I'm just openly saying that if that happens, it will piss me off.
Yeah, Marte had the best swing of the night off Meyer. I mean, that double that he ripped was a great classic, like kind of what we saw in 2023 with Marte. But I'm nowhere close to DH Marte. I think there's about 4 guys in AAA that I'd rather have DHing than Noelvi Marte on this team. There's about 3 guys in AAA I'd rather have DHing than Spencer Steer or Jeimer Candelario right now, too. But that is not going to happen. So I guess that leads us into Candy sitting again. I guess for me, is he sitting tomorrow? Because I think Francona said several times, he talked about CES getting stacked days off in a row. I know there's a lot of managers, especially old school managers, that love that idea of 2 days off in a row to kind of refresh the minds. So if he's sitting the 3rd day in a row, then that's where, okay, they actually are really benching Candelario. But I don't know. Crush me if you want. I just don't understand why Candelario's been terrible. Spencer Steer's been just as bad. I don't understand why people are more optimistic about Spencer Steer than Candelario right now.
I agree. They're one of the same. Candelario. I'm not out on him. Like, I'm not completely out on him. I just want to openly say that if we have an option at all, then I'd rather have that other option. But right now we don't. Like, we just don't. Spencer Steer is just as bad. So, thank God Jake Fraley has turned it around, by the way. If we can give our flowers to Jake Fraley really fast, let's do that, because we were completely out on Jake Fraley. You were definitely out on Jake Fraley. And he has made this whole thing somewhat serviceable right now. Because if he was bad, we would find ourselves back in the same position we were at the beginning of this year, just looking at half the lineup and just scratching our heads and asking us how are we going to score? I don't know. But Candy's going to play tomorrow. And he just needs to get himself in a spot where he has a couple balls that he hits hard and he can trick his brain into thinking that he's a great hitter again. Whether he is or not, I don't know. But he certainly doesn't believe he is one right now. And he's pressing at the plate. He's swinging at pitches that are obviously terrible. And I'm hopeful that he turns that around. He can, Nick. I mean, he really can. And let's also say, Nick, like, we both agree on this. Spencer Steer and Candelario are not this bad of players. I mean, they might not be good, but they're not this bad. So at some point, you should reap the benefits of them having at least a hot week. I'm not saying they're going to have a hot month, Nick, but at least a week. Like, Candelario should get 5, 6, 7, 8 hits in a series, at least at some point here soon. Hopefully it's maybe the Marlins or the Rockies. I don't know, but he's going to play tomorrow. If he's not playing tomorrow, do you think that seems like Tito's pissed off at him for more than just the output from a production standpoint, right? Like, in my opinion, it's something else. Like he stinks, but he's also doing something behind the scenes that Tito's not going to put up with.
I get why people are more optimistic about Spencer Steer long-term. I'm more optimistic about Spencer Steer long-term. But in terms of which player can be a better hitter in 2025, I don't see this big gap that Spencer Steer has. I mean, Spencer Steer did not have a single month last year where he had an 800 OPS. Jeimer Candelario had had maybe the best month of any Reds player. I mean, Elly probably had a couple, but I mean, Jeimer Candelario had a run last year where he was actually really good. We haven't seen Spencer Steer be really good since 2023. So again, they both flip a coin on which one of them could break out. I really don't know which one could, but I don't understand why Steer is heads and above Candelario in terms of who can help this team in 2025 at all. I don't get that.
I would actually say this. I don't get why Steer is being given the leash that he's been given. I really don't. I understand Candelario, one, from a financial perspective, but also because he actually has had, call it whatever you want. He's had a little bit of a roller coaster career, but he's been an above average hitter more times than not throughout his career, and he has a long track record of that. Spencer Steer does not. And I'm not saying I'm out on Spencer Steer. I'm just openly saying, for some reason, Spencer Steer is being given this leash that Will Benson would have never gotten. But I would say, and I know people are going to crush me for saying this, like, I guess Will Benson is not that far off of Spencer Steer. I mean, he's not that far off. Availability, I think at some point, Nick, was Spencer Steer's greatest attribute. He could play multiple positions. What you're telling me now is that he's struggling at the plate, but more importantly, he is also not flexible with his position. He can't go play the outfield right now. He's stuck at first base because of the arm. He can't play the infield, at least to our knowledge, and that makes him nearly basically unusable. So I'm shocked that he still gets the opportunities he's getting. That's kind of where I'm at with this whole thing.
And the one thing that Steer has that Candelario doesn't have is you have the ability to literally just say, "Hey, Spencer, we're just going to send you down to AAA we'll you hit down there, we'll leave you down there for the minimum, and we'll call you right back up." He has options. Like, right. Why not just send him down and say, "Okay, hey, let's take some pressure off you. Show us what you got," and try to get some confidence back. I don't understand why his leash has been this long.
It doesn't make sense. What does make sense with Candelario, literally because he's making $15 million, and he's, like I said before, he's gotten off to slow starts in his career before as well. And that's I hate that excuse. In fact, that's the most overused and most ridiculous thing, but I guess it could be true. And if it's true again with Candelario, then I'll just hold my hand up and say, well, I guess you just got to put up with the fact that he's merely horrendous for 2 months, and then all of a sudden after that, he's going to be a firecracker. But the Reds lose 6-3. Never felt like they deserved to win. Ultimately they got to bounce back, Nick. And I think if they do bounce back tomorrow, they win. It feels like this game is a big nothing burger, and you're back to 500 with a chance to win a series, finally win a series, and get over 500. And then hopefully they can catapult themselves into a position where by the end of this month, you kind of have a little bit of a cushion with that whole 500 record. You can get 3, 4, dare I say 5 games above 500. It's all possible. We shall find out. Candy's going to play tomorrow, though. You can guarantee it. If he doesn't play tomorrow, I think that screams more. There's some smoke. There's some smoke there in regards to something going on outside of just him not playing well.
Agreed completely. Yep.
Yeah, he's going to play. So we need him to get back on track. I'm not rooting against Candelario as well. I think that's people think that because of just the way that I reacted the other day and him being bad. I need these guys. I want these guys to play better. I don't want to be right with Candelario. I'd like for him to play better. So, maybe, like I said before, the whole bit of going and buying a bunch of candy. The good news is I don't even need to buy it anymore. It's like I got a half of a mountain stack upstairs in my house from Easter from my kids. So maybe I'll just put that in a big pile tomorrow and eat all of it and be sick, and then watch Candelario maybe hit a couple home runs. But
I'm with you. I don't care who it is. Just someone step up and be a decent DH. I don't care if it's Reese Hines, who I've been out on more than. I don't care if Santiago Espinal, whoever. Just someone please step up and be a competent DH for this team. And there's a lot of options at AAA right now. That's kind of the thing that I think irks me the most, is that these guys are getting this leash, and there's guys at AAA that are hitting really, really well right now that I don't understand why one of them are getting a chance.
yeah, listen, Kevin said he totally disagrees with us on the Steer take. He thinks he's playing injured. If he's playing injured, then I hate to say this, but like at some point you got to put your pride aside and say, hey, I can't do my job. Like I'm hurting the team for being too prideful. Like, I think that's a real thing. Like, I guess my question would be like, if you're a quarterback and you can't throw the football really, really well, and you're heading in late into the fourth quarter of a game, and you know that your team has to throw the ball down the field to go score, would you be a better teammate by telling the coach that you feel good that you can go do it when you know you can't? Or would you be a better teammate by just telling the coach, like, hey, this sucks, I can't go. We're going to have to give this other guy a shot until I can get healthy. Maybe I'm naive for saying that, but like I'll tell you this, Spencer Steer's not doing himself any favors if he's hurt right now trying to play through it and absolutely tanking his numbers. That is not going to do him any justice, especially when he tries to go to arbitration. Like, it's just not. It's not a very good thing to do. You kind of want to keep your stats or your numbers to a certain extent relevant, and they are tanking as fast as the stock market. Nick, what?
There you go.
All right. We have Reds MILB, and then we will obviously jump into any supers that exist that I have not got to yet. But first, we'll go down to the farm.
All right, no Reds MILB on Mondays, but as we'll try to do from time to time, thought there wasn't going to be anything to talk about because this was looking like a 3-0 game when I put this into the old Singular app. But we'll go through some Reds top performers. Tyler Callahan has been outstanding down at AAA. I think it's a 10-game hit streak. He's reached base in every game. .438 on base percentage, 4 home runs for Tyler Callahan. Sal Stewart down at AA, hitting like he's just hit every year in the Reds organization, hitting .315, 403 on base percentage. Ethan O'Donnell, how about this? .436 on base percentage for him down at AA. And then Leo Balcazar down at high A, he's got a .410 on base percentage. He's got 2 homers. And Carlos Sanchez down at Daytona, maybe having the best Reds minor league season of anyone to date. .391 average, 500 OPS, 6 extra base hits. This was a guy that was a Reds top 30 prospect. Had a down year last year, injured, but it looks like he's back to that top 30 prospect this year. And everyone will be back in action tomorrow. Interesting trace. The Chattanooga Lookouts, I didn't see this. They are taking on the Columbus Clingstones in Columbus, Georgia tomorrow. That is the new Braves AA affiliate. They were the Mississippi Braves prior to that. The Columbus Clingstones. That just rolls off the tongue, huh?
Yeah, what a name that is. Shout out to them.
Got me talking about them.
It does. That is true. Super chat on the way. I'm digging up some information right now as we do this. Carlton Van Hoy. He says Sean. I think he's talking about Sean Connor also bringing this up. Says 71 doubles, 43 taters, and driving in 178 runs. He also then chimed in, that is why Steer gets a leash. Well, I'd also say some of that's largely based off the fact that he's played a lot. I mean, he's been available. I guess, am I crazy for thinking that Will Benson and Spencer Steer are, like, it's not an unfathomable thing to think that they aren't both relatively the same when it comes to creating runs? Maybe I'm crazy. I'm not
hitting directly behind Elly De La Cruz for a full year. probably should have a pretty high RBI total.
Yeah, I'm not counting RBI. I'm not even looking at RBIs. Like RBIs is like I mean, I'm not trying to say it's a worthless stat, but come on, man. Like, could you imagine trying to drive in runs hitting 8th on this team? Who's on base to knock in? Quite literally no one. He's probably got what 10 points higher on a WRC plus, maybe 5 points higher. Benson's boom or bust. I will give him that. I will always say Benson is a much more boom or bust type player. But Spencer Steer's ceiling is significantly less than Will Benson's, in my opinion. But we're sitting here comparing Will Benson and Spencer Steer like that's the combination. I'm just openly saying to everybody that I don't dislike Spencer Steer. I just think it's crazy how this fan base, for some reason, thinks some guys are so valuable, but then other guys are the world's worst players. Like Stuart Fairchild, for 80% of this fan base, seemingly was worthless. But Jonathan India is the next coming. I'm sorry, but I just don't see that. I guess I see in Stuart Fairchild a guy that could steal a base. If you need a base stolen, he could steal a base. He's a guy that offered plus defense, and he also was an above-average hitter against at least one-handed type of pitcher. The others were, they had a good season. I'm going to get myself in trouble if I go too much longer on this whole thing, but they're just not that much different. That's all I'm trying to say.
It's actually funny. I just looked up Steer and Candelario since 2023. Their numbers are almost identical. They both have 44 home runs. Steer has a 103 WRC plus to Candelario's 99. But I mean, they're almost identical players over the last 2.5 years or so. Candelario had 44 home runs in 271 games. Steer 44 home runs in 330 games.
I guess my question is, in 2025, if Spencer Steer got to just play it out, is his WRC plus over 75?
It's going to be tough with this start.
I'm
It'd
just
be tough
asking.
for him and Candelario. Either one of them.
I'm just saying, is it going to be? And if it's not, if it's not going to be, let me tell you, that was Will Benson's WRC plus last year. Might I remind you also that in 2023, Benson posted a 127 WRC plus. That is 10 points higher than Spencer Steer has had. So those are just numbers, and I'm not a very big-time analytics guy, but it just seems like we're, I guess, I don't know, all in on one side of the aisle and all out on the other when they look very much like the same profile of a player. But that's here nor there. All right. We do have more baseball. They're going to play tomorrow. We're going to find a way to win tomorrow. And when we come back and we win, the chat's going to be completely different. I mean, it's just going to be completely different. Wednesday? Is that what? Is that?
I think I'm going to put a poll. I think I'm going to put a poll out on X.com. Who has a higher OPS at the end of the season, Steer or Candelario? It'll be fun to see what there is. I know Steer's going to win that. What I'm going to say, Steer wins that 80-20 at least.
Yeah.
But I would say the DraftKings odds would be like -110, -110.
Right. Well, you know, the fair and honest reason as to why that will be, Nick, is because one guy's getting paid a lot of money. And as I said before, the reason that we get upset in a small market because when guys get paid money, we associate that with the very limited resources we already have. And it feels like he's taking something away from us that we could have gone out and used this year to get something else. That's the reason why.
It's a bad contract. We've already admitted it's a bad contract, but that has nothing to do with who could be a more productive DH.
I'll play Nick Kirby here. It's only a bad contract if the Reds aren't able to find a way to get themselves in a postseason run and he doesn't play well. The thing that's crazy about all of this, if you want to know the truth, is that he could be terrible pretty much for 70% of this year. But if somehow the Reds are capable of staying in it and he gets red hot and all of a sudden Candelario, bear with me here, I know this is one hell of a fairy tale, but he gets red hot at the end of the season, plays out of his mind, and then he plays out of his mind in the postseason, that money is well spent. It is. I mean, it just is. You're trying to win postseason games, and I'm just telling you, if Candelario basically hits 750 with a 1,500 OPS throughout the postseason, hey, I guess you sign up. You pay for the big time moments, the big bucks, as they say. Anyway,
Poll is up on Twitter, so go chime in. And I just don't think it's a good contract because he can't play third base. It's a lot of money for a guy who can't play third base, who at best is probably his ceiling's a 120 WRC plus guy. That's too much money for a guy that can't play third base.
I agree.
At an adequate level.
No, we were on the same page. I guess the terrible analogy that I was trying to use was if you go into the car dealership and they ask you, hey, do you want to pay an extra $30,000 on your $30,000 car for the premium roll cage protection plan that will only save you if you roll the car over 8 times? That's a terrible deal if you don't roll the car over. But if you roll the car over 1 time, it's a great investment. That's what I'm trying to say with Candelario. It's a terrible investment, but there's only one thing that can save it. And that's if that dude figures out a way to help us win a postseason series. Not a game, but a series. It's a far stretch. It's a far cry.
You and I both know Santiago Espinal is the postseason hero. So
I'm begging.
Let's wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up. All right. Who, what, when, where, and why?
All right. Reds Marlins back at it again tomorrow. Nick Martinez, a local guy. Where was he born? He was born somewhere around those parts. Born in Miami. Played high school at a Jesuit preparatory school in Miami. It's a lot harder to say than I thought. Played very well against the Marlins in his career. 4-0 with a 1.00 ERA in 10 games. 3 of those starts against the Marlins. Active Marlins are 5 for 20. Sanchez 2 for 10. Edwards 2 for 5. Reds will be going up against Edward Cabrera. Talented pitcher, but has just dealt with a ton of injuries the last couple years. Off to a tough start so far this year. First start was pretty good for him against the Nationals, 5 2/3, 2 runs. Last start, not as good, 4 innings, 5 runs against the Diamondbacks. Relies on 5 pitches, a curveball, changeup, slider, sinker, and 4-seamer. Fastball averages 96.5. Only made 1 career start against the Reds. It was last season at Great America Ballpark. 3 1/3, 6 hits, 7 earned runs in that one. And he gave up a career high 4 home runs in that start. Home runs to Jeimer Candelario.
Oh, yeah.
Spencer Steer.
Oh, yeah.
And Elly De La Cruz.
Damn. Put them both in the lineup, baby.
Someone that's not on the Reds.
Put them both in the lineup. Could you imagine the reactions on X tomorrow when the lineup gets announced and Candelario and Spencer Steer somehow find their way in the lineup?
The people who watch Chatterbox Reds will know why that was, though.
There you go. That's why you watch. All right, folks. Like the stream if you haven't already. Very much appreciate you tuning in to a show like this. Not an easy show to do. Not a whole lot, in my opinion, to kind of get upset about and or really discuss that seemingly has a direct impact on this team right now. We're just hoping, wishing, and waiting for somebody to step up. And we're also maybe hoping and wishing and waiting that Tyler Stevenson comes back and makes a difference. And that is to be determined, and we'll obviously wait to discuss that on another show. But until then, we'll be back here better than ever tomorrow. Tell your friends. We'll see you then. Go Reds.